Most women, especially in their 40s, like me, have been taught that getting lean is simple: eat less and move more. But if that actually worked, more women would have the body that they're working so hard for. Instead, they're stuck. They're eating less, they're doing more, and they're still not seeing the results that they want. If that sounds like you are in the right place. Today, I'm going to teach you how to unlock your best body over 40. I'm sitting down with another woman, Tenesha, who has lost 75 pounds and completely transformed her body. And we're breaking down the major myths that are keeping women stuck so that you can stop spinning your wheels and start training and fueling your body in a way that actually supports it and that works. If you've been feeling frustrated with your progress or like your body isn't responding the way that it used to, this conversation is going to shift the way that you think about everything: fat loss, muscle, and what it actually takes to build your best body in this season of life. So grab your favorite drink and let's get right into it. Welcome, Tanisha. I'm so excited to have you here today and to share your story, and then also just to enlighten more women to the real truth behind what can help them feel their best, look their best, have the healthiest bodies for any age. So welcome. And I can't wait for you to share your story and for us to help other women too.
Thank you so much for having me, Shauna. It's great to be here. And it's been amazing to watch your journey and watch you blow up on Instagram and help so many women. So I really just appreciate you having me on and letting me share my story with your audience.
Of course. I know we've been, Instagram buddies for years now. And so having the opportunity for us to connect like this, but also speak to the same purpose, because I know, like myself, you have had your own journey with fitness, some good chapters and some not so good chapters, which is probably why it led you to where you are now, where you're coaching women and helping them through their journeys. And no better place than to kind of pay it forward, to give it back, is to help others that are maybe where you were. I'd love to start off there for those who don't know you, kind of understanding how you got here now as a woman who is fit, who has lost over 75 pounds. Is that right?
Yep.
To maintain that for, over what, 15 years?
Yeah, going on 17 years. It hasn't been
Amazing.
perfect. I'll tell you that right now. But
That's part of it. Yeah. But,
yeah,
but now here you are, and I know along that road to success, there were a lot of setbacks and there were a lot of failures. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. Is there's some of the myths that held you back and held me back, and that I know there are that are holding some women back now. So I'd love for you to just share your story, how you got here, and your background.
I started my weight loss journey back 2000. I would say the height of like toxic diet culture, Biggest Loser. I don't know if you remember the
Yeah.
Swan. These shows that really made women feel like their bodies weren't perfect the way they were. It wasn't always heavy. My weight gain started probably in late elementary school, throughout junior high, high school, just packing on the pounds, packing on the pounds. And I didn't have a really, I would say, a tough life. My dad did pass away, but I wouldn't say like, oh, I gained a bunch of weight because of something traumatic that I went through. I just didn't know how to eat. Mom, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but I would say that I was never taught how to nourish my body, right? Like, my mom never let us go wanting. The kitchen was always stocked. She was a single mom raising us. Anything we ever wanted was in the kitchen. It's like Oreos and Cheez-Its and cup of noodles. My mom was at work. We're at home. We're just shoving a bunch of food in our mouth and are having friends over and just eating, eating, eating. And by the time I'm graduating high school, I'm over 245 pounds. And I'm looking at myself like, how did I get here? When I graduated, I was like, I need to figure something out with my body. Like, my body is a representation of how I take care of myself. And this isn't how I feel inside. I want my inside to reflect how I look outside. I started my fitness journey and I was like, I want to lose a bunch of weight. And in my mind, I just wanted to get skinny. I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that if I didn't eat very much, I would probably lose weight. It really turned into, taking you back, Jillian Michaels, Shalene Johnson, insanity videos,
Mhm.
jumping around in my living room, sweating my butt off. I was doing a bunch of cardio, but then I was eating super low calorie. And I am honestly ashamed to admit that I was at points maybe eating 1,000 calories a day and then doing a bunch of cardio on top of that. And the weight came off. Like,
Mhm.
obviously a calorie deficit is how you lose weight, but I was on the extreme end of it. But what I didn't know was that I was restricting so much that it hit a certain point where I started binging because I had been restricting so much. But then the weekend would hit and I'm just gorging myself with whatever. It got to a point where I was just like, I can't sustain this. Like, I can't live this way anymore. I don't always like to talk about numbers, but I got down to a really low weight where I would say it was like skinny,
Mm.
but I didn't feel good in my skin. I didn't like the way my body looked. I was doing so much cardio. I didn't even know muscle building was like what I should have been doing. I didn't know I should have been eating better and building muscle. Okay. I realized a couple years later, after losing the weight, that I needed to change something. I thought, I'm going to start CrossFit because, I should try to build some muscle. If you know CrossFit is these punishing workouts. You're drilling yourself into the ground. But in the back of my mind, it was still, I'm going to punish myself with fitness. I'm going to punish myself by going to CrossFit and making sure that I feel like I just died after our work. I thought that was how I was supposed to feel. And it was punishment because I had been overweight and I didn't want to go back to what I was like before. And mind you, this whole time I'm probably yo-yo dieting like the same 25 pounds. I just still hadn't fully figured out my nutrition. I started keto. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna low carb. Shauna, you name the diet, I did it. Like I've tried everything.
I'm shaking my head along to this whole story because it literally mirrors everything that I've done. And I'm sure there are other women saying, like, oh my gosh, same. Like,
Yes, tried
yeah.
it all. I just didn't realize that it could be so simple. I don't want to make it seem like it's so easy to lose weight,
Well,
but
I think the
honestly,
distinction is like simple doesn't mean easy. It's simple,
right.
but it's not always easy to execute.
Yes. I just didn't know, like I wish I had you or me or someone as an example. Like my mom growing up was always a yo-yo dieter. She was athletic, but there was always talk about her body. It was to fix something, not because of the love of athleticism. After CrossFit, my career started to really take off. I'm a producer. I'm a reality TV docu-series. So I do a lot of TV shows that your viewers probably watch. I was on the road a lot and eating out at restaurants. Every day they feed you, right? And it turned into keeping the weight off, eating really low calorie, binging on the weekends, drinking an excessive amount of alcohol. And I ended up in 2019, I had just been so fed up with the way that I was living, and I decided that I was going to hire a trainer to program workouts for me while I was on the road. She was amazing, but I was still stuck in my toxic diet culture ways. And her thing was, Tanisha, stop doing so much cardio. The Stairmaster is not going to get you to your goals. But it was still this like, I'm doing it because I'm punishing myself because for some reason I felt like that was going to get me skinny or keep me thin.
That 90s culture is just that sweat equity, like sweat equals results. But then that's
Yes.
a hard mindset to get past.
My coach had a beautiful, strength training program for me. But I was doing 40 minutes of Stairmaster or running on top of her programming,
Mhm.
not realizing that it was counterintuitive to my goals. I was wondering why my body wasn't changing. I started studying, I started actually looking at the science. I started listening to people who were a lot smarter than me. And what it really took, Shauna, I have to be honest, is I had to humble myself. Like, I really had to take a step back and be like, what I'm doing is not working. I don't know everything. I was still stuck back in the 2000s. The industry has evolved and I needed to catch up with that. I started learning. I got my CPT. I know better now. Now I don't use cardio as punishment. I use it because it's good for my heart. And once I cut back on the cardio, my body really started to change. I thought I was strong then. I am so much stronger now. The definition in my body and top that with good nutrition. People say like it's lifestyle, and you don't really understand that until you build that relationship with your body.
Yeah.
Like you create that lifestyle through connecting with your body. Once you start listening to how your body is reacting to food, how you feel after you eat. So many of us, when we're not eating well, we get stomach aches and we just push through it. Like, why do we do that?
You start to normalize things that shouldn't be normal, like poor digestion, your mood,
Yes.
your energy dropping off. Once you start to pay attention, it gets easier to make nutrition decisions that are going to support you and not necessarily hold you back. Once you start to do that, you start to realize, like, wow, this is how I should feel. I should feel energized after my meals. I should feel happy. I should feel motivated. I shouldn't have bloating or digestion issues. Stepping away from that and leaning into something different can allow you to see what food should be for you. Food at the end of the day is fuel for our bodies, and it can be delicious too. There is a world that both of those things can exist for you.
Yeah, and for me, it took like the whole eating clean, and I don't even like to call it that either. I just want to call it nourishing my body,
Yeah.
right? Giving my body what it's craving and what it needs. And something that I haven't told anybody this before. My boyfriend's mom is in breast cancer remission, and she has no idea how much of an impact like the way that she eats has had an impact on me. But and it's actually helped me formulate part of my method with the legacy method. And with legacy nutrition, it's this whole idea of simplicity and repetition. When I see the way that she eats, it's so simple. She doesn't have to think very much about it. It's just healthy, simple, not a lot of doing a lot of in the kitchen. There's not 17,000 ingredients. I don't want to spend 3 hours in the kitchen, but I saw the way that she ate and it just really inspired me. I'm like, I need to develop habits today that are going to take me until I'm 80. Like what I'm doing right now, and this is why I call it legacy nutrition. I need to be able to teach my kids this.
Mhm.
I need to be able to take this, make this my legacy that it lasts. It's not complicated, it's repeatable. Anybody can do it. It's very easy, right?
Right.
Healthy, simple meals that I can take to the grave. Easy.
100%. Yeah.
I don't have to think about it.
Right. And that's the key is, making everything habit. And again, it's simple, it's not always easy, where developing these new habits, getting proficient with them can take some effort and take some time, but once they are habits, then that's when you're no longer on plan or off plan. You're just living, and then this is your new lifestyle. And like I said, a lot of my story mirrors what you've been through when it comes to not knowing about nutrition. I packed on a lot of pounds in my 20s, and the only way I knew to get them off was to start to sweat more and eat less. And like you, I got to like where I was eating about 1,000 calories a day. My cycle stopped, hormones crashed. I was a mess physically, mentally, and took, learning a different style. But even when I started to put the pieces together, I still had that old belief system that was really encouraging me to sweat more and eat less. So even with the incorporation of weight training and even with the incorporation of some more
Mhm.
protein, I was still restricting. I was still over exercising and still working way too hard to not see the results that I wanted to. And so, leaning into something different like you did, deciding like, how many times am I going to try the same approach and get
Right.
like, expect a different result? That's the definition of
Mhm.
insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting something different. It's scary to lean away from the things that you think are what you're supposed to be doing. But I always encourage women now that I'm coaching, if it hasn't worked by now, it's not
It's
going
that's
to,
not gonna work.
So,
Mhm.
learning to understand what your body actually needs to thrive, not just be thin, to be energetic, to have good hormone levels, to look good and to feel good for the decades ahead. It's going to look and feel a lot different than most of what you've done before, but you're going
Yes.
to get results and you're going to keep results, most importantly.
And it's that whole idea of sustainability. And I know you teach this to the ladies. Like, I think we get so mixed up because sometimes we do these extreme things or we go into these, which I wouldn't even call it a fat loss phase when you're not doing it properly, but we've all lost weight, right? Like, we've all done it before. But
Yeah.
the key is keeping it off and making it sustainable. And I know you teach this, like fat loss phase, it's a tool. It's not
Mhm.
something that you stay in for years on end. And
Yeah.
that's what so many women are doing because we had some success with it for a short period of time. But that's the thing. It's not meant to be
forever.
sustainable. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And if the methods that you use to get results aren't sustainable, then your results aren't going to be either. Whatever you're doing to achieve your results, you're going to have to do to some level to maintain those results. Having that understanding is important before you start another workout plan or another diet program. Like, ask yourself, can I do this for the next 30 plus years? And if the answer is no, then run.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Tanisha. I know our goal with this episode is to also share 3 biggest myths that held us back and that are probably holding back other women on their fitness journeys. Let's dive into those now. Myth number 1 is that cardio is not going to get you toned. I want to preface this by saying I'm not demonizing cardio. I think it's amazing. And if you are someone who's just trying to get active, I'm not going to discourage you from doing any sort of activity. However, I think it's important to what cardio can do for you and what it can't do for you, because a lot of times we're using this method thinking or expecting that it's going to turn us into these chiseled, sculpted goddesses, when in fact, that's not true. It's great for cardiovascular health. It can increase your caloric output. So if you are trying to lose weight, it can help with putting you into a small deficit without having to decrease your calorie intake. But your body does adapt to cardio over time. When you first sign up for a cardio class, when you first start running, you're going to burn a ton of calories. Over time, your body adapts to that. So that's something that you want to understand, is that your body gets better at cardio. So the other piece here is that cardio cannot tone. That's just not how body composition works. You change your body composition by having more muscle tissue and having less body fat. If you are not doing anything to build or preserve that muscle tissue, it doesn't matter how much you sweat. It doesn't matter how many calories you're burning. You're not going to have a sculpted, defined body at the end of it. It's important to understand what cardio can do for you and what it can't. It's great to have as a part of your routine, but it's got to be the sidekick. The main character has got to be building muscle.
I totally agree. And, I think longevity, right? I am not going to be jumping around doing crazy cardio when I'm 80. I will be able to lift a weight though. That's going to be my goal. I want to be able to do things that I can sustain. But going back to sweating your butt off and thinking that is somehow getting you somewhere. It was so ingrained in us that that punishment was doing something, but it's not doing anything. I was so cardio conditioned. I could run miles on end. Oh, I could bust out a K in less than 30 minutes. But why is my body not changing? Like, why do I still have no muscle definition? I wasn't putting the pieces together.
Yeah, same. That was my story. I still do cardio. I have a step goal, and sometimes I'll increase my step goal or do some zone 2 cardio, but muscle has to be the primary focus, so that we can have everything that we talked about:
Yeah.
hormonal health, metabolic health, longevity. But the cool thing is, once your plan is muscle centric, you are training to support muscle growth and your nutrition supports that, you're going to feel better, but the aesthetics come as a byproduct. You're working smarter, not
Yes.
harder. And it almost feels, I'm not going to say it feels easy, but compared to the hours and the effort that I used to put into cardio or programs like we talked about versus what I'm doing now, 3 days in the gym lifting and I'm walking most days, like the effort is so different, but the outcome and how I feel is
Yeah.
by far so much better.
And like you said, it goes along with nutrition, but when you actually start to see that muscle definition, not only are you seeing muscle definition, but you're getting stronger.
Yeah.
Your metabolism is functioning better. It
Yeah.
makes keeping weight off easier the more muscle that you have. And you're just in the gym, you're looking good, you're feeling good, you're confident. I always say, like, don't tell me I'm skinny. Don't tell me I'm fat. Just tell me I'm strong. Okay. Tell me I'm strong. Tell me I can lift a house. Okay. What I want to be. I want to be so strong. I want to have so much muscle definition. It's womanly, I look
Yeah.
strong and it's sexy to me. I love
I
it.
agree. I couldn't agree more. What else is sexy is like being independent. I'll be 47 this year. I want to make sure that I can climb stairs, that I can pick up my son, that I can pick up a bag, that I can, get myself out of bed, like say 30 years, 40 years from now. So those are the kinds of things that muscle will provide you. The cherry on top is that muscle makes you look like a baddie, but
Mhm.
it's also just going to keep you healthy. and make sure that you can do all the things that you want to in your life ahead. But it's the perfect transition now. The second myth we want to touch on, because I know a lot of women fear that they're going to pick up a dumbbell and all of a sudden they're going to have an explosion of muscles everywhere. And I wish building muscle was that easy. After being in the gym, intentionally applying progressive overload, lifting heavy, I can tell you it's not that easy to grow muscle. You really have to be intentional with it. But as a female, we don't have the hormones to support copious amounts of muscle growth like a man or like someone who might be on some sort of PED. You don't have to fear getting bulky. The other thing that I think can happen though is as someone's starting to grow muscle, if there's still a layer of body fat over top of that muscle, that's what can start to make them look or feel a little bit bulky. It's a little bit of understanding how body composition works and then knowing how to dial what you need to so that you can recomp your body in a way that matches your goals, meaning you're reducing your body fat and increasing your lean muscle tissue. When you look at a pound of body fat and a pound of muscle, they may weigh the same, but fat is going to take up a lot more volume and muscle is very dense. It's very compact. When you have more muscle on your frame, you're going to look smaller, tighter, toner. And sometimes, as you're recomping your body, the scale doesn't change that much, but you physically look different. You look tighter, toner, more defined, more sculpted. And that's only going to come from muscle. And muscle is only grown when you lift with intensity, meaning you're using weight that brings you close to failure. And then you're applying progression where week to week, you're focusing on the same workouts, same exercises, making sure you're getting stronger. And when you do that, that's when you start to see those changes in your bodies that you didn't expect or didn't see possible. You're not going to get bulky. I think that's one of the things we just want to drive home is that lifting weights isn't going to make you like bulky. It really is the way to look your most defined, sculpted, and lean.
When my clients say that, like, I don't want to get too bulky. And I'm just like, girl, don't flatter yourself. Okay. Really. You got to be doing like it takes, first of all, the dedication to get to that point, to these
Yeah.
fitness models and bodybuilders. Like, that's not what we're going for. You've been doing 2-pound dumbbells. It's totally different. But with heavier weights, like you were saying, like I love the idea of molding and sculpting our body. Like, how exciting is it to know that we are the artists of our bodies? Like, I get to create this by eating well and lifting heavy weights. Once you start seeing all the pieces working together and that muscle coming and you're flexing, you're seeing like back muscles that you've never seen. It's so
It's
exciting.
addictive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say, honestly, seeing a new muscle is more exciting than any like low scale weigh-in day ever. I
Yes.
mean, when you are just doing your thing and all of a sudden you catch like a little bicep or a little shoulder, you're like, okay,
Yes.
that's what's going to create that toned, defined,
Look.
sculpted look, muscle.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to get bulky. Get in the gym,
Yes.
lift like you mean it, and your body is going to be on point.
Yes. And I always go back to my method, the legacy method, legacy strength. We are doing things that will take us to the grave. I can teach my kids. I don't have children yet, but I am looking forward to that one day. When they're old enough, be able to take them into the gym and show them how to use the equipment and they'll be set for life. They're
Yeah.
good, you
Yeah.
know?
And
It's just a great
redefining what aging has to look like. That's my goal too, is I don't want to necessarily slow down because I'm X age. I'm going to
no.
redefine what that looks like. I'm going to be the grandma on the floor running around the park with my grandkids. That's my goal, is to show my son, his kids, or whoever else I can, that just because you're getting older doesn't mean life has to slow down for you. And the organ of longevity and youth is muscle. So the more of
Yes,
it
I
you have, the better off you're going to be.
I always say at the rate I'm going with the muscle that I'm building, I'm gonna live forever.
Yeah. And have the quality of life in your years. It's not just about how
Yeah.
many years you have, but how much life in those years can you have? And that's important. And
Yes.
that's
Agree.
important too. Now that we've talked about muscle, the other component here has to be nutrition. And the third myth is that you always have to be on a diet. But when we're talking about having more muscle tissue, having enough nutrition, having enough protein is critical. Without that foundation there, you're going to have a hard time to build the body that you want and have the health that you want. That's the myth that we wanted to touch on last, not to be afraid to eat enough calories. Your body is not working against you. It really is meant to protect you, and it adapts to the environment that it's in. If you are chronically eating less and less, your body has no choice but to match that environment. It's going to slow metabolism to match the calorie intake that you're at. But the workaround to that is to eat enough protein, put on more muscle. Your metabolism is going to improve. You're going to be able to maintain a lower body fat without having to take your calories too low. A personal story: when I was getting married in my 30s, I wanted to look my best. I was still in that mindset of just eating less, doing more. I was lifting weights at that time, but not effectively. And I sought out a coach. And the first thing she said to me was, "Girl, you got to eat more and you got to do less cardio." And I went running for the hills. I was not ready to hear that. I wish I had taken her advice because it would have saved me years of frustration. But I eat more now at 46 than I did at 26. I'm in the gym less, and I look and feel 1,000 times better. Like we said earlier, food is nourishment, it is fuel. As a strong, active woman, you need to fuel your body. Fasting all of the time, trying to eat like a little bird or eat like these small, tiny meals, that's not going to cut it when we're talking about being our healthiest and our strongest. So, understanding that there is maybe a time and a place where you're eating less, but that doesn't mean it should be forever. And it doesn't mean that it should be 1,000 calories. You are never, ever going to diet yourself to your strongest body.
Yeah, for me, my biggest thing was introducing carbs back into my diet
Yeah.
because I was keto or low carbing for so long. I was like restricting during the week, and then I would just eat whatever I wanted on the weekend. I would have like bread and french fries and just junk, right? And I don't want to moralize food. I don't want to say food's good or bad, but I wasn't eating healthy carbs when I was deciding to eat carbs. And then when I really started to get intentional with my diet, and first of all, protein, eating enough protein, but introducing carbs back in, it was just a total game changer. And for so many years, I thought like, oh, I got to fight this hunger craving. Like, I'm going to skip breakfast because discipline, and that means I'm good. It's going to help me keep my calories low. And now when I'm hungry in the morning, I'm like, "Good morning, body." Like, yeah, you're ready to eat, right?
Food is energy, it's fuel. And
Mhm.
you're going to be in the gym lifting, you're going to be working, you have things you need to do for the day. Your body needs fuel, especially, hormonally, we need different things to support that as well.
Understand some people just cannot eat in the morning. Maybe they're working out at 5 a.m. Even just getting a little protein in would be good. But as soon as that workout's over, we are feeding our muscle. Our muscles are not going to grow unless we're feeding them.
When we're talking about nutrition, you don't have to be afraid of calories, you don't have to be afraid of carbs, you don't have to be afraid of fats.
Mm-mm.
Protein is your staple. Like, you build all your meals, that's your foundational piece. Like, you got to ask yourself, what's my protein? Make sure that you have at least like 30, 50 grams a meal. And that's going to get you all of the amino acids that your body needs to build, repair, sustain, all the good things. And then your energy sources are carbs and fats. But having those in excess will obviously amount to, higher body fats. But when you're controlling and you're leaning more on whole foods, that's going to help your satiety, so you're less likely to overconsume them. But carbs are going to help your muscle performance. It's your body's preferred energy source. I have experimented with carbs, not having carbs pre-workout and then having them, and it's night and day difference. And most of my clients notice a significant increase in their strength output when they are fueling with carbs around their workouts. And then fats are important for us because of hormones and cognitive ability. Your body needs healthy fats to support its hormone systems and to run your brain efficiently. Fats at one point were demonized, carbs at one point were
Mm-mm.
demonized, but really what it takes is balance with all three. Your body does need all three. And when you can create a balanced meal, you're going to be satiated, you're going to be supported, you're going to be fueled, you're going to feel good, you're going to perform well, and you're going to look good at the same time.
Yeah, for me, things got so much easier when I stopped overcomplicating my diet and just kept it simple, you
Simple.
know? They always say, shop the rim of the grocery store. The more that I really focused on whole food, it made things way less complicated. When we just keep it simple, all the pieces just fall together.
And you don't have to make fancy recipes. I'm with you on that. But having some things prepped, like chicken made, you have like ground beef made, you have protein sources that you can easily add to a meal, and then maybe have some potatoes made or some rice made or some veggies prepped or, fruits. Those are things that you can easily have accessible to create a meal. Once you get into a rhythm with it, it just becomes habitual, and you start to get addicted to the process of doing that because you recognize how much better your body is functioning. Your sleep improves, your mood improves, your digestion improves.
You said fruit, and it just brought back memories of years where I just avoided fruit because sugar bad. So I avoided fruit for so long, but I'm making up for lost time. I cannot imagine not having fruit. And I will say berries and grapes, and blueberries, blackberries, the digestion piece with all that. Girl,
Yeah.
why didn't anybody tell me?
No. At least you know now and you can help others. But yeah, digestion, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, like
Yes.
fruits is something that I, again, was afraid of in the whole keto era. I went keto for some time and yeah, I dropped weight, but that's only because I was eating less. Like I was in a calorie deficit. I was taking in less carbs, but now I eat balanced and I'm as lean or more lean than I was with keto. But I knew my journey with keto was over when I started to crave apples. I'm like, this is goofy. I'm craving an apple. I'm not craving a donut. I
Yeah.
just want like a green apple right now. So, but it took some of those stumbling blocks to go through understanding why they are myths and why they weren't necessarily the key to looking and feeling our best. And so for that woman who's listening, I think that's our goal here, is just to enlighten her and to empower her to make some decisions that are going to help her not only look her best, but feel her best, not for today, but for tomorrow. Like you said, what is the legacy that we are going to leave? Like, what is our legacy? And we can do that with leaning into the right habits. Use cardio, but don't lean on it expecting that it's going to transform your body, because it can't. Lean into muscle, lift like you mean it, and nourish your body, and you can't go wrong.
100%. And the change is not going to happen overnight. And sometimes those voices are going to creep back in when you're
Yeah.
starting to introduce carbs or cut back the cardio, but just trust the process. Shauna has been through it. I have been through it. Just keep pushing, because once you get to the other end, it's smooth sailing.
Yeah. And maintaining it is so much easier when it's built on those rock solid foundations of nutrition, strength training. You're going to maintain it in such an easier way than having to spend hours and hours on a treadmill or on a Stairmaster, sweating your years away. If you're that woman who is stuck, you're eating less, you're sweating more, and your body's not changing, I invite you to lean into something different. And it's going to unlock a body and a life you didn't know was possible.
Exactly. And just to what you said about maintaining, like I am so confident today that I will be able to maintain this 75-pound weight loss and just keep it. I don't have to stress about it anymore, because I know now. I'm equipped now. And now you and we're starting this movement. We're equipping all these other women,
Yeah.
because we can all get there. Like we
Yeah.
can all do it.
Right. How liberating is that, Tanisha? You're living out health every single day, and it's not costing you your time in the gym. It's not costing you your hunger. There's just
My
such different,
sanity.
your sanity. Yeah. It's just a different approach. Honor your vessel, and it'll honor you right back.
I agree.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, thank you so much, Tanisha. This was such a fun conversation. Our mistakes have now become the wisdom that we can apply to our own journeys, but also helping to walk other women through on their journeys. For anyone who wants to know more about you or to connect with you, because I know you are coaching and helping women too, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram, Longevity Culture Fits,
Amazing.
and that's where I am.
I will link all of your info below. And thank you so much for taking some time today to share your story and to help empower more women to, create their legacy of being strong and fit for life.
Thank you so much for having me, Shauna.
I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. I hope that it gave you some hope to know that change is possible. Please know that your body isn't broken. You've just been following a strategy that doesn't work long term. And if you can start shifting out of those myths and into a more intentional approach, that's where everything can change. And not just how you look, but how you feel, how you perform, and how you're able to live your life for these next 40 years. I want to thank Tenesha again for joining me today. And if you enjoyed today's video or you learned anything new, please comment below. I would love to hear from you. And if you are on your journey to building your best body over 40, I would check out this video next.